Pacific Rim National Park Reserve is a Canadian national park reserve in British Columbia comprising three separate regions: Long Beach, the Broken Group Islands, and the West Coast Trail. The entire reserve encompasses 511 square kilometers of land and ocean. It is characterized by rugged coasts and lush temperate rainforests. The reserve is open from mid-March until mid-October. It was created in 1970 as the first national park reserve, and remains the oldest, having yet to fulfill its promise of becoming a national park after more than 45 years. The reserve was opened in 1971 in a ceremony attended by Princess Anne of England, who was presented with a driftwood abstract sculpture by Jean Chrétien, the minister responsible for Parks Canada. This park reserve is home to mammalian species of raccoon, black-tailed deer, cougar, wolf, black bear, marten, and mink. Visitors are often thrilled by views of various marine animals such as seals, porpoises, sea lions, and many species of whales that are frequent at this shoreline. The park encompasses a thin strip of land located on the southwest coast Tyrrell Island. Long Beach is the most visited and most accessible of the three regions. It is made up of the coastal region from Tofino to Quttinirpaag. The area also contains the Green Point campground, which has 94 campsites for both tents and small trailers. There are also numerous trails in this region, running through bogs and temperate rainforest areas. This center is the main educational center in the area and contains exhibits about local wildlife, plants, native culture, and history. The center also includes a theater, restaurant, gift shop, and information desk. The Broken Group Islands region is made up of over 100 small islands and islets in Barkley Sound. The area is accessible only by boat, and is popular with kayakers. There are 7 camping areas scattered on the islands. Campers should be aware that there is no fresh water available in the Broken Group Islands, so any water needed will have to be brought in. The West Coast Trail is a 75 km trail along the west coast of Vancouver Island from Port Renfrew to Bamfield. The trail was built to aid in the rescue of shipwrecked sailors. Construction on the trail started in 1907 and by 1910 the life-saving trail was complete. The trail was abandoned in the 1950s.
Parliament Hill, colloquially known as The Hill, is an area of Crown land on the southern banks of the Ottawa River in downtown Ottawa, Ontario. Its Gothic Revival suite of buildings is the home of the Parliament of Canada, and has architectural elements of national symbolic importance. Parliament Hill attracts approximately 3 million visitors each year. Law enforcement on Parliament Hill, and in the parliamentary precinct is the responsibility of the Parliamentary Protective Service, PPS. Originally the site of a military base in the 18th and early 19th centuries, development of the area into a governmental precinct began in 1859, after Queen Victoria chose Ottawa as the capital of the province of Canada. Following a number of extensions to the Parliament and departmental buildings and a fire in 1916 that destroyed the centre block, Parliament Hill took on its present form with the completion of the Peace Tower in 1927. Since 2002, an extensive $1 billion renovation and rehabilitation project has been underway throughout all of the precinct's buildings. Work is not expected to be complete until after 2020. The Parliament buildings are 3 edifices arranged around 3 sides of Parliament Hill's central lawn, the use and administration of the spaces within each building overseen by the speakers of each chamber of the legislature. The center block has the Senate and Commons chambers, and is fronted by the Peace Tower on the south facade, with a Library of Parliament at the building's rear. The east and west blocks each contain ministers' and senators' offices, as well as meeting rooms and other administrative spaces. Gothic Revival has been used as the unifying style of all 3 structures, though the center block is a more modern Gothic Revival, while the older east and west blocks are of a Victorian High Gothic. This collection is one of the world's most important examples of the Gothic Revival style. While the building's manner and design are unquestionably Gothic, they resemble no building constructed during the Middle Ages. The forms were the same, but their arrangement was uniquely modern. The Parliament buildings also departed from the medieval models by integrating a variety of eras and styles of Gothic architecture, including elements from Britain, France, the Low Countries, and Italy, all in 3 buildings.
Prince Edward Island is a province of Canada consisting of the island of the same name, as well as several much smaller islands. Prince Edward Island is one of the 3 maritime provinces and is the smallest province in both land area and population. It is part of the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq, and became a British colony in the 1700s and was federated into Canada as a province in 1873. Its capital is Charlottetown. The backbone of the economy is farming. It produces 25% of Canada's potatoes. Historically, Pei is one of Canada's older settlements and demographically still reflects older immigration to the country, with Celtic, Anglo-Saxon and French surnames being dominant to this day. Pei is located about 200 kilometers north of Halifax, Nova Scotia and 600 kilometers east of Quebec City. It consists of the main island and 231 minor islands. Altogether, the entire province has a land area of 5,686.03 square kilometers. The main island is 5,620 square kilometers in size, slightly larger than the U.S. state of Delaware. It is the 104th largest island in the world and Canada's 23rd largest island. Pei is the only subnational jurisdiction of North America outside the Caribbean to have no mainland territory, and the only such jurisdiction to have no land boundary. Prince Edward Island used to have native moose, bear, caribou, wolf, and other larger species. Due to hunting and habitat disruption, these species are no longer found on the island. Some species common to PEI are red foxes, coyote, blue jays, and robins. Skunks and raccoons are common non-native species. Species at risk in PEI include piping plovers, American eel, bobolinks, little brown bat, and beach pindweed. Some species are unique to the province. In 2008, a new ascomycete species, Jonula apiosporo, Jonulils, Dothidiomycetes, was collected from submerged wood in a freshwater creek on Prince Edward Island, Canada. North Atlantic right whales, one of the rarest whale species, were once thought to be rare visitors into St. Lawrence regions until 1994, have been showing dramatic increases, and since in 2014, notable numbers of whales have been recorded around Cape Breton to Prince Edward Island as 35 to 40 whales were seen in these areas in 2015.
Quttinirpaag National Park is a Canadian national park. Located on the northeastern corner of Ellesmere Island in the Quttinirpaag region of Nunavut, the most northerly extent of Canada, it is the second most northerly park on Earth after Northeast Greenland National Park. In Inuktitut, Quttinirpaag means top of the world. It was established as Ellesmere Island National Park Reserve in 1988, and the name was changed to Quttinirpaag in 1999, when Nunavut was created, and became a national park in 2000. The reserve covers 37,775 square kilometers, making it the second largest park in Canada, after Wood Buffalo National Park. The land is dominated by rock and ice. It is a polar desert with very little annual precipitation. Much of the highlands of the park are covered in ice caps. These ice caps, and the glaciers that descend from them, date back at least to the last episode of glaciation. The park includes Barbeau Peak, which at 2,616 meters is the highest mountain in Nunavut. Some wildlife, notably Arctic hares, lemmings, musk oxen and Arctic wolves reside in this national park, but sparse vegetation and low temperatures support only small populations. There is a very small Peary caribou population as well. Other animal inhabitants include ringed seals, bearded seals, walruses, polar bears, and narwhals. During summer months, birds nest in the park including semi-palmated plovers, red knots, gyre falcons and long-tailed jaegers. Common plants include wharf willow and Arctic cotton, in addition to grasses and lichens. Plant and animal life is more concentrated in the Lake Hazen region, which has a milder climate than the surrounding ice-cap-covered mountains and valleys. Parks Canada maintains warden stations and gravel airstrips at Danquary Fjord Airport, Lake Hazen, and Ward Island. Danquary Fjord and Lake Hazen are the main access points for tourists. Beyond these warden stations, there are no facilities within the park itself. Two backpacking routes are the route between Lake Hazen and Danquary Fjord, and a loop around the Ad Astra and Viking ice caps, both approximately 100 kilometers. In 2004, the park was one of 9 sites added to Canada's tentative list of potential World Heritage Sites.
Red Bay is a fishing village, and former site of several Basque whaling stations on the southern coast of Labrador in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. Between 1530 and the early 17th century, Red Bay was a major Basque whaling area. The site is home to 3 Basque whaling galleons, and 4 small chalupas used in the capture of whales. The discovery of these vessels makes Red Bay one of the most precious underwater archaeological sites in the Americas. Since June 2013 it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Red Bay is a natural harbor residing in the bay that gives it its name, both names in reference to the red granite cliffs of the region. Because of the sheltered harbor it was used during World War II as a mooring site for naval vessels. In the bay are Penny Island and Saddle Island, which were used by the Basques for their whaling operations. The location of the sunken vessel San Juan is near Saddle Island. Between 1550 and the early 17th century, Red Bay, known as Baliabaya, was a center for Basque whaling operations. Sailors from southern France and northern Spain sent 15 whale ships and 600 men a season to the remote outpost on the Strait of Belle Isle to try to catch the right whale and bowhead whales that populated the waters there, according to Memorial University of Newfoundland. In 1565, a ship, believed to be San Juan, sank in the waters off Red Bay during a storm. Other, smaller vessels, such as chalupas, have also been recovered from the waters. Another galleon was found 25-35 feet below water in 2004. It was the 4th transoceanic ship to have been found in the area. A cemetery on nearby Saddle Island holds the remains of 140 whalers. Many of the people buried there are thought to have died from drowning and exposure. Historians believe that a decline in whale stocks eventually led to the abandonment of the whaling stations in Red Bay. Today, an interpretive center in Red Bay explains the history to visitors. Red Bay has been designated a National Historic Site of Canada since 1979, and since 2013 it is one of Canada's UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
The Rideau Canal, also known unofficially as the Rideau Waterway, connects Canada's capital city of Ottawa, Ontario, to Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence River at Kingston, Ontario. It is 202 kilometers in length. The name Rideau, French for curtain, is derived from the curtain-like appearance of the Rideau River's twin waterfalls where they join the Ottawa River. The canal system uses sections of 2 rivers, the Rideau and the Quttinirpaag, as well as several lakes. The Rideau Canal is operated by Parks Canada. The canal was opened in 1832 as a precaution in case of war with the United States. It remains in use today primarily for pleasure boating, with most of its original structures intact, operated by Parks Canada. The locks on the system open for navigation in mid-May and close in mid-October. In 2000 the Rideau Waterway was designated a Canadian Heritage River in recognition of its outstanding historical and recreational values. In 2007 it was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site recognizing it as a work of human creative genius. The Rideau Canal was recognized as the best preserved example of a slackwater canal in North America, demonstrating the use of European slackwater technology in North America on a large scale. It is the only canal dating from the Great North American Canal building era of the early 19th century that remains operational along its original line with most of its original structures intact. It was also recognized as an extensive, well-preserved and significant example of a canal which was used for military purposes linked to a significant stage in human history, that of the fight to control the north of the American continent. A plaque was erected by the Ontario Archaeological and Historic Sites Board at Jones Falls Lock Station commemorating Lieutenant Colonel John By, Royal Engineer, the superintending engineer in charge of the construction of the Rideau Canal. The plaque notes that the 123-mile-long Rideau Canal, built as a military route and incorporating 47 locks, 16 lakes, 2 rivers, and a 360-foot-long, 110 meters, 60-foot-high, 18 meters, dam at Jones Falls Dam, was completed in 1832. Other plaques to the canal erected by the Ontario Heritage Trust are located at Kingston Mills, Smiths Falls, and Rideau Lakes.
St. Andrew's by the Sea is a historic Episcopal chapel on Church Road, southeast of the junction with South Road and Route 1A in Rye, New Hampshire. Built in 1876, it is the only known religious work of Boston architects Winslow and Wetherill, and one of a modest number of churches built for summer vacationers in the state. It is an eclectic mix of Gothic Revival and stick style, and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2001. St. Andrew's by the Sea stands near New Hampshire's seacoast in southern Rye, on the east side of Church Road south of Genesee State Beach. It is a single-story structure built of stone and timber, with brick lining at the corners. It has a slate roof and a small belfry topped by a pyramidal roof. The chapel's stained glass windows were designed by John Lafarge, the Conic Studios, and Tiffany & Company. Other major features of the interior include massive timber trusses supporting the roof, and an elaborately carved oak pulpit. The church property includes a small graveyard and is surrounded by a low stone wall, with a lich gate built in 1977 as a reconstruction of an original. In 1864, Rye's first Episcopal services were held at the nearby Farragut Hotel. This chapel was built in 1876 to serve Rye's large summer resort community. It was designed by the Boston architects Winslow and Wetherill, and is their only known work in New Hampshire. It is also their only known religious work. The partners worked primarily on commercial projects, and are best known for their work done after the Great Boston Fire of 1872. The chapel is still used for Episcopal services in the summer.
Stanley Park is a 405-hectare public park that borders the downtown of Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada, and is almost entirely surrounded by waters of Vancouver Harbour and English Bay. The park has a long history, and was one of the first areas to be explored in the city. The land was originally used by Indigenous peoples for thousands of years before British Columbia was colonized by the British during the 1858 Fraser Canyon Gold Rush. For many years after colonization, the future park with its abundant resources would also be home to non-Aboriginal settlers. The land was later turned into Vancouver's first park, when the city incorporated in 1886. It was named after Lord Stanley, 16th Earl of Derby, a British politician who had recently been appointed Governor-General. Unlike other large urban parks, Stanley Park is not the creation of a landscape architect, but rather the evolution of a forest and urban space over many years. Most of the man-made structures present in the park were built between 1911 and 1937 under the influence of then-Superintendent W.S. Rawlings. Additional attractions, such as a polar bear exhibit, aquarium, and miniature train, were added in the post-war period. The forest continues to give the park a more natural character than most other urban parks, leading many to call it an urban oasis. It consists of primarily second and third growth, and contains many tall Douglas fir, western red cedar, western hemlock, and Sitka spruce trees. Since 1992, the tallest trees have been topped and pruned by park staff for safety reasons. A large variety of animals live in the park. There are 200 bird species alone, including many water birds. A large great blue heron colony moved into the park in 2001 and has grown to now about 170 active nests. Mammals include a large raccoon population, coyotes, skunks, beavers, rabbits descended from discarded pets, and a thriving gray squirrel population, descended from 8 pairs acquired from New York Central Park in 1909. However, there is a complete absence of large mammals including deer, elk, bear, wolves, cougars, and bobcats. Stanley Park also has many man-made attractions. Recreational facilities are especially abundant in the park, having long coexisted, albeit uneasily, with the aesthetic and more natural park features preferred by those looking to the park as an enclave of nature in the city.
Tofino is a district of approximately 1,876 residents on the west coast of Vancouver Island in the Canadian province of British Columbia. The district is located at the western terminus of Highway 4 on the tip of the Esowista Peninsula at the southern edge of Clayoquot Sound. A popular tourist destination in the summer, Tofino's population swells to many times its winter size. It attracts surfers, nature lovers, bird watchers, campers, whale watchers, fishers, or anyone just looking to be close to nature. In the winter it is not as bustling, although many people visit Tofino and the west coast to watch storms on the water. Close to Tofino is Long Beach, a scenic and popular year-round destination, at the Pacific Rim National Park Reserve. With its natural hot springs, Makina Marine Provincial Park is a popular day trip destination for tourists. Reachable by boat or float plane, the park is located about 45 kilometers north of Tofino. Every March, the migration of thousands of gray whales is celebrated with the Pacific Rim Whale Festival. The last weekend of April is the Tofino Shorebird Festival. The first weekend of June brings the Tofino Food and Wine Festival, featuring British Columbia wines and showcasing the creations of Tofino chefs. The end of August brings the Tofino Lantern Festival, voted Tofino's most popular event by Tofino Time magazine, and mid-September brings Art in the Gardens, a 2-day arts and music festival. The O'Neill Coldwater Surf Classic was held 25 to 31 October, the first professional ASP surf event ever held in Canada. In November is the Clayoquot Oyster Festival, as well as the Queen of the Peak all-female surf competition. Rip Curl Pro Tofino, the official Canadian surfing championship, has been held each year in May, since 2007.
Vancouver Island is in the northeastern Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Canada. It is part of the Canadian province of British Columbia. The island is 460 kilometers in length, 100 kilometers in width at its widest point, and 32,134 square kilometers in area. It is the largest island on the west coast of North America. The southern part of Vancouver Island is the only part of British Columbia or Western Canada to lie south of the 49th parallel, along with most of the southern Gulf Islands and minor offshore islands. This area has one of the warmest climates in Canada, and since the mid-1990s has been mild enough in a few areas to grow subtropical Mediterranean crops such as olives and lemons. Other notable cities and towns on Vancouver Island include Nanaimo, Port Alberni, Parksville, Courtenay, and Campbell River. Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, is located on the island, but the larger city of Vancouver is not. It is on the North American mainland, across the Strait of Georgia from Nanaimo. Vancouver Island has been the homeland to many indigenous peoples for thousands of years. The island was explored by British and Spanish expeditions in the late 18th century. It was named Quadras and Vancouver's Island in commemoration of the friendly negotiations held in 1792 by Spanish commander of the Nootka Sound settlement, Juan Francisco de la Bodega y Quadra, and by British naval captain George Vancouver, during the Nootka crisis. Quadra's name was eventually dropped from the name. It is one of several North American locations named after George Vancouver, who explored the Pacific Northwest coast between 1791 and 1794. Vancouver Island is the world's 43rd largest island, Canada's 11th largest island, and Canada's second most populous island after the island of Montreal. It is the largest Pacific island anywhere east of New Zealand. In recent years, the government of British Columbia has engaged in an advertising program to draw more tourists to beach resorts in places such as Tofino and Quttinirpaag. Sport fishing, whale watching, hiking, scuba diving, surfing, and skiing are just a few things for which tourists visit Vancouver Island. Visitors also come to see Victoria's 19th-century architecture, and the many villages which line the coast such as Calagan Bay, Humanas, and Qualicum Beach.
Wood Buffalo National Park is the largest national park of Canada at 44,807 square kilometers. It is located in northeastern Alberta and the southern Northwest Territories. Larger in area than Switzerland, it is the second largest national park in the world. The park was established in 1922 to protect the world's largest herd of free-roaming wood bison, currently estimated at more than 5,000. The park ranges in elevation from 183 meters at the Little Buffalo River to 945 meters in the Caribou Mountains. The park headquarters is located in Fort Smith, with a smaller satellite office in Fort Chippy in Alberta. The park contains one of the world's largest freshwater deltas, the Peace Athabasca Delta, formed by the Peace, Athabasca, and Birch Rivers. It is also known for its karst sinkholes in the northeastern section of the park. Wood Buffalo is located directly north of the Athabasca oil sands. This area was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983 for the biological diversity of the Peace Athabasca Delta, one of the world's largest freshwater deltas, as well as the population of wild bison. On June 28, 2013, the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada designated Wood Buffalo National Park as Canada's newest, and the world's largest dark sky preserve. Parks Canada claims that the designation will help preserve nighttime ecology for the park's large populations of bats, nighthawks and owls, as well as providing opportunities for visitors to experience the northern lights. The Wood Buffalo National Park had planned to celebrate the new designation with a Dark Sky Festival on August 23-25, 2013, featuring camping, astronomical presentations, a planetarium experience, and night sky viewing opportunities. Wood Buffalo National Park contains a large variety of wildlife species, such as moose, bison, great gray owls, black bears, hawks, spotted owls, wolf packs, lynxes, beavers, snowy owls, marmots, bald eagles, martens, wolverines, peregrine falcons, whooping cranes, snowshoe hares, sandhill cranes, ruffed grouses, and the world's northernmost population of red-sided garter snakes, which form communal dens within the park. Wood Buffalo Park contains the only natural nesting habitat for the endangered whooping crane. Known as whooping crane summer range, it is classified as a Ramsar site. The range is a complex of contiguous water bodies, primarily lakes and various wetlands, such as marshes and bogs, but also includes streams and ponds.